We are from Group 6, and today we'll be discussing on the question of whether parties should seek implementation of the Rotterdam Rules. Here are the flow of our presentation. Firstly, I will start with introducing with you some of the current conventions that are available in the maritime industry. I won't go into detail, but we have the Hague-Visby Rule, which is amended to, we have the Hague Rules, which is amended to the Hague-Visby Rules, and then we have the Hamburg Rules, and the latest version that we have will be the Rotterdam Rules, which provides more clarities on the responsibilities of different parties. The trend that we can see over the years is that these rules have been changed in a way that it increases the protection to cargo interests instead of the carriers and owners. Today we'll zoom into the Rotterdam Rules. Rotterdam Rules aim to extend and modernize the existing international rules and achieve uniformity in international trade law in the field of maritime carriage. So it gives a clear definition on the shippers, carriers, and consignees' right and obligation. The key unique thing about Rotterdam Rules is that it gives more protection to the cargo interest, extend to the scope to the door-to-door shipment. One thing to take note is that these rules has yet to come into force because it needs more than 20 countries to ratify it. Whereas for now, there are only 25 countries who sign it. Among them are United States, Denmark, and France. And only 3 countries who ratified them, which is Congo, Spain, and Togo. Now we'll move on to what's different in Rotterdam Rules.
Yeah, first of all, the provision on electronic document is different. The Hague and the Hague-Visby Rules fail to contain provision on electronic documents, but more on like they have the Seaway Bill. But as part of the Rotterdam Rule, anything that is to be in or on a transport document may be recorded in an electronic transport record. The issuance, control, and transfer of an electronic transport record has the same effect as the transport document. Another thing is the increase in limits of liability. The limits of liability means that the ship is, if the ship is involved in an incident which causes damage to person, environment, or property, there's a limit of the maximum that the ship owner must pay. Compared to the Hague-Visby Rules, the limits per kilogram have been increased from 2 to 3 special driving rights called SDR, while the limit per package has been raised to 875 SDR. Another thing is the definition of nautical fault defense, which means that under the Hague-Visby Rules, the negligence to ship management and navigation are not the liabilities of the carriers, but under the Rotterdam Rules, carriers and crews are now liable under this matter.
Yeah, one of the most important adjustments by the Rotterdam Rules was to expand the scope of application to port transport, while the Hague-Visby use tackle by tackle, and Hamburg Rules use port to port. A performing party is known as a party other than the carrier that undertakes responsible for the goods. According to Rotterdam Rules, performing parties will have same responsibilities as those imposed on the carrier for the period. In addition to that, performing parties will also have the same rights and immunities as the carrier on the period. Deck cargo is defined as shipping cargo that is stored on deck instead of in the ship, under the deck. And it's especially useful in livestock, where there's concerns about ventilation and safety. In Hague-Visby, deck cargo is not considered as goods, while there is under some circumstances in the Hamburg Rules and Rotterdam Rules.
Okay, so another difference is open clause of jurisdiction and arbitration. The Hague and Hague-Visby Rules do not deal with jurisdiction and arbitration. Then Rotterdam Rules is a compromise solution. The chapter on the jurisdiction and arbitration was made subject to an opt-in reservation, which means only those states that specifically make the declaration that they are to be bound by those chapters will be bound by them. The next difference is about overlapping with other unimodal conventions and national laws. The Rotterdam Rules do not affect conceptual provisions as well as the provisions of national laws, and it does not apply to contract carriage for passengers and their luggage. Another one is shipper's liability. In Rotterdam Rules, if shipper's responsibilities are not properly carried out, they will be liable. The limitation of the shipper's liability is not prescribed in the Rotterdam rules, and shippers have duty to properly carry out their responsibilities. The last one is about freedom of contract for foreign contract. The Rotterdam rules generally provide freedom of contract for foreign contract, but there are some risks that it brings vagueness in contract, possible opportunity for abuse or disadvantage to smaller shippers.
Like Jessica pointed out earlier about, say, the minimum of 20 countries need to actually ratify it, and that's the reason why it hasn't been implemented yet. For example, we could see that US has implemented the Hague rules, the UK, the Hague-Visby rules, and other few small countries have implemented the Hamburg rules. So this problem is not just limited to the Rotterdam rules, but the problem of it coming into force is there throughout the different conventions which exist, as it can be seen by the disjunction of international carriage of goods law. Then moving on to the specifications of why it's not been implemented, we can see from Article 8, which talks about the use and effect of electronic transport records. Over here, it can be seen that although it has a few benefits, like it increases the security, decreases fraud, and better for the environment, but the technology is not prevalent to make it commercially successful. For example, we do have the Bolero, but it's still very expensive, and it can be just used as a prototype right now. And then moving on to other issues with this particular article and electronic system is that a lot of countries do not have existing laws where an electronic bill of lading would actually become an existing and a legal document according to the laws in that country. Moving on to the next issue which the Rotterdam rule has is the continuous care of cargo. In this, the carrier must exercise due diligence before, at the beginning, and during the voyage by maintaining the ship in specification to the location of cargo, appropriate manning of the vessel, and the equipment. Hence, carrier states are moving away from the Rotterdam rules because of increase in investments and the shift in liability. Now, moving on to Article 80, which talks about derogation. In this, it has the potential to take advantage of small shippers or carriers, and it offers a better price can be offered in return for opting out of certain liabilities and obligations, although it must be consensual between both the parties. Then another reason why Rotterdam rules isn't being implemented by a lot of different countries is because how complex the rules are. This can be pointed out by the conflict with other transport conventions. As Article 84 points out that nothing in the convention affects the application of international conventions of rail, road, air, and Indian waterways. And even Article 27 says if an incident occurred prior to loading or post-loading, it will be addressed by another convention. So the fact that so many other different conventions are addressed to and also taken into account, it makes it very, very complicated, and hence a lot of countries don't want to enter into so much litigation rules and other conventions.
Another reason why it should be implemented is the need to adapt to the electronic commerce. The Hague and Hague-Visby rules requires bills of lading to be applicable. However, electronic transport documents are often preferred to the traditional bills of lading. This is because transportations today are much faster, and if goods arrived before the bills of lading, there may be extra costs incurred. And another motivation is the cost savings from the paperwork when we use electronics versus the traditional. Another reason why we should implement is the need to adapt to the new multimodal scope. Due to the rise in multimodal transportations because of the increased containerization today, there is a need to move towards regulation that covers the whole multimodal system. So Rotterdam Rules will be the first convention that provides for this multimodal transportation. Providing a uniformity across the different modes of transport can lead to different benefits, such as the lower cost of transportation, as well as the increase in legal certainty.
On to the conclusion, whether should parties seek implementation of the Rotterdam rules, we believe that there are two different diverging views. Once the cargo interest, the cargo owning countries would actually implement the Rotterdam rules because it gives them more protection. However, the ship owning countries would not be implementing this in the near term future because it increases the liability and certain costs. And moving on to the holistic idea of implementing the Rotterdam rules by all the parties, we believe that since it's a form of electronic documentation and multimodal scope, where it's one unified form of convention, parties should go forward and implement this.